know that if you look closely, you can actually see symbols etched into the armor of the workers? That is crazy detail. I just finished a KVT and now I feel compelled to do a KVZ. The new Protoss-inspired race, Chiron versus the Zerg. The more I learn about the Chiron, the more intrigued I get. Just to remind you, the basic concept is the production is centralized. All units have to be shaped or warped, if you prefer, within range of the Citadel. Jevolution, our Chiron player, opens up by making an edifice. That's kind of the Chiron equivalent of making a spawning pool. I'm finding that as the game goes on, the Chiron needs more and more structures to keep generating those charges. Oh, Jevolution sends a converter to scout, or is he actually attempting to hatch block? Kirigiri is indeed going for that hatch, generating those 300 minerals. But Zerg is going to get that hatch down first. Just how important is that early scout in KVZ? I have no idea. The edifice is just about complete. That unlocks the Volts and the Pariahs, but it also lets you create a Sanctum. Oh, but that is not what Jevolution is doing. He's building himself a second edifice. Each one will give him 3 charges, which means in theory he could shape in 6 units at a time. He still has to pay the mineral and gas. And if I have it right, every time you build a tech structure, you get 8 more supply. There's no equivalent to Overlord, Pylon, or Depot. But you gotta keep making those tech structures. Though in a simulator, aka a formulator, doesn't count. But a new Nexus, a Citadel, will actually get you 18 supply. So Jevolution is sort of walling off his top ramp, but it's not tight. There's a space for the converters to get out. We'll see if he seals that up with a door guard. But regardless, he's gonna go ahead and put his Citadel down at the low ground of his natural anyway. Meanwhile, Zerg takes that third. Spawning pool's about to finish. Oh, we're playing on 2,000 atmospheres, by the way. Don't ask me if that's a Chiron-friendly map. Right now, I just assume they all are. Zerg natural completes, as does that spawning pool. Now, I do have to confess, I don't know if the correct pronunciation is Keiron or Chiron, or perhaps even Chiron, but I'm going with Chiron until I learn different. I wonder if at some point somebody will figure out an actual tactical advantage to being able to build your structures from a distance. I think it's going to wind up just being cosmetic, but we'll see. Kirigiri's Overlord is going to notice the timing on that great white pudding. The Overlord has to be careful because the Chiron can get out an air attacker a lot faster than a normal Protoss. Jevolution going for double Sanctum. Oh, he's crossing the streams. I didn't know you could cross the streams. The Ghostbusters are going to be so upset. That's hilarious. Maybe the converters can make like stream art. If you think of the Sanctums as the eyes and the X as a nose, it kind of looks like a deranged cat. We've got Ling speed for our Zerg player, and he's starting up a Baneling nest. Zerg's looking to saturate his natural. Oh, he's gonna kill off that scout and get the first blood. Honestly, how can you kill a converter? They're just so cute. Kinda reminds me of the mouse from Animal Mechanical. I know what you're thinking. Zugzwang, why are you watching the children's show Animal Mechanical? Well, I think the real question is, why aren't you watching Animal Mechanical? And perhaps the answer you would say is because you're not 4 years old? But we've strayed off topic here. Jevolution is shaping in Volts and Pariahs. And now you're probably wondering, why do Volts hang out with Pariahs if they're Pariahs? And one possible explanation is because the Pariahs have really big electric axes. Oh, excellent. He's also warped in a Pulsar. That is the basic ground-to-ground attacking tank unit. Looks a bit like a spider. Or a robotic roach, which is not a bad analogy. I feel like the Pulsar's getting overlooked because everybody's using the charges from the Sanctum to make subjectors. I like the subjector, but until you get intel that your opponent's actually going air, the Pulsar might be the better choice. Jevolution pushing out. Kirigiri's gonna need a lot more than just Lings to deal with this, which might be why he's trying to finish off a Roach Warren. But he could get caught investing in a huge wave of Overlords. I get that he needs those if he wants to make roaches, but he is tight on time. Jevolution's researching modified gate, the speed upgrade for the Volts and the Pariahs. Oh, there's no defense at the third. Is Kirigiri sacking it? The Pulsars go to work on it with that separation beam. These Lings are not enough of a response. Oh, Kirigiri wants to group up his forces. If they just trickle in one at a time, they're gonna get slaughtered. Oh, I thought the Pariahs dodged the Banelings with their projection ability. But they didn't, they went deep red. That would have been so cool. Kirigiri's killed off a ton of Chiron forces, but is it enough to save the hatch? No, there's too many volts left over. It's a horror pinata. The broodlings pop out, and that's going to be enough to send Jevolution packing. Both players really ramping up their armies. Jevolution shaping in 3 more pulsars. 18 lings and 3 roaches for Kirigiri. So the pulsar is definitely better than the roach. But is it twice as good because it costs twice as much? On a dollar for dollar basis, is it an efficient fight? We'll have to learn. Regardless, Kirigiri's at risk of overextending. Jevolution has a big army waiting for him. Oh, there's the projection for the flank. You can't retreat when the pariahs cut you off. I bet he does it again. It's like a mini shade or a blink, except it's performed by axe-wielding maniacs. Look at that, so useful for cutting off retreats. What is a poor roach to do? He's like, dude, time out. But is Jevolution getting lured into the defender's advantage here? A lot of Ling Roach Bane is getting made here. That choke could be deadly. No, he got through the choke. As the Weekend would say, I'm blinded by the lights. The Lings killed off the pariahs, but got torn up by the pulsars. It's gonna come down to the transfuses. This could break the Zerg's back. I can't help but notice that the unit called the Pulsar is firing in a steady stream. And I think the Queens are gonna clean this up. Jevolution came close, but he is going to retreat. He's got a worker lead of 12 though. He's definitely pulling in more money right now. And that giant vat of pudding is his 3rd coming to life. That smaller one is a foundry used to make charges to make umbre. But that is a reliquary. Coolness. I think that's the Keiron equivalent of an eBay block. He's left it incomplete so he can cancel it. Zerg doesn't even know about it and won't know about it until he attempts to take a 4th. It turns out that the Chiron can be jerks too. Speedlings are going to take the watchtower, possibly as a prelude to attacking Jevolution's 3rd. A huge round of 11 drones for Kirigiri. He desperately needs to catch up on that score. The faded yellow represents Chiron turrets in the queue. They're not actually built. There's no defense here. The Lings go helter-skelter, but then decide to focus on the Citadel. Jevolution pulls back his army to try to save it. He's got the muscle. Does he have the time? Oh, it's a pariah projection around the site, and that chases the Lings right off. I gotta say, Jevolution's micro with the pariah has just been the best I've ever seen so far. Sure, small sample size, but really good. Not sure where those queens are going. It's either the world's least populous queen walk, or it's a miss rally. Look at this SimCity action. Double reliquaries to block off the 3rd, with a bunch of ground turrets, aka nullifiers, tucked in behind it. The queens look like they're sneaking up to the Chiron base. It's gotta be a miss rally, right? Can Jevolution see them? Yes, he can now. Let's just all act like they're not here. Maybe they'll go away. No, let's slaughter them. I think those poor queens might have been trapped on move command. That center turret, I think, is actually an air turret called a Stratus. It looks really cool when it fires. I hope we get to see it. Kirigiri, halfway to lair tech, looking to rebuild his army with roaches. They do not have the speed upgrade. He wants to get that 3rd base saturated. Kirigiri is getting a 4th, and he's got to do it on the right-hand side of the map, because we've still got that reliquary block going on. A lone Zergling's gonna start chewing on that, but at this rate, it's gonna take a while. Oh, the Chiron main's starting to look pretty cool. Just to orient you as a general rule of thumb, if the building floats, it makes charges for air units. Outside of Queens, Zerg doesn't have a lot that shoots up right now. He's at risk of getting stuck on a ground game here. We'll have to keep an eye on that as it develops. Okay, so that is a lot of pulsars. That is a lot of DPS right there. The reliquary block is finally coming to an end. Oh yes, there's the cancel. Kirigiri finished his lair and immediately went to start up Baneling speed. Okay, this is how the Umbrae are supposed to be used. They just rolled by everything the Zerg had and then decloaked. The problem is, once they reveal themselves, they don't have too much of an exit strategy. So you really want to go for that sensitive target. Or you want to one-shot your opponent with the first volley. As cool as they look, and they do look really cool, I think they're going to take a lot of getting used to before players start getting value for their cost. Okay, Kirigiri is catching up on supply here, but a lot of that is roaches, so we've got that roach inflation factor. I do like that Kirigiri's going to work on his creep. He really wants that vision that it provides, which reminds me that the Chiron has a special vision granting turret. It's almost like a weird cousin of the Comstat. I don't see one so far in this game. I'll hope we see one a little bit later on. Oh, Jevolution is pushing out. Kirigiri was really enjoying that respite. But I think he's in serious danger if that death ball heads over to his base. Looks like Jevolution's gonna pause to set up a fourth. Oh, Kirigiri switches gears and starts teching. A Nidus network, also an infestation pit and a couple of evolution chambers, and a potentially much needed Hydra den. Oh, Zerg pushing out. Even if he just keeps the Chiron busy without throwing away too many units, that would be something. Maybe use his superior mobility and keep Jevolution running around the map. A huge round of drones being made for Zerg. Kirigiri's finally got the worker lead and he's got the base lead as well. He's finally out mining the Chiron. And as you can see from the collection of bubbling strawberry milkshakes, Jevolution is taking his fourth. I feel like Jevolution had a real window to push out there. He can still do this, but it's gonna be harder than it was a half minute ago. Oh, it's gonna be the mid-map Nidus worm. I don't see that he's actually got an overlord hiding behind the Chiron base. Oh, he does have one by the natural, but I don't know if he can get a worm off there without it being seen. One good effect though, when you hear that scream, you're very hesitant to push out of your base with your main army. You really feel like you're about to need it at home. Maybe that buys Kirigiri more time to get his army together. He's researching Hydra range, along with +1 ranged attack, which is good because Jevolution has started adding air units. Oh, Nidus worm in the natural. Jevolution has to be able to see that. He's not pulling his army back though, he's continuing to push out. He's gonna step on to creep. He could get backstabbed by that Nidus worm though. Oh, Kirigiri knows he can't take that fight. He's gonna retreat into his Nidus worm. Jevolution's gonna shut that right down. There's so much DPS in that death ball. I mean, I don't really know, but just on the eye test, it looks absolutely lethal. Oh, the worm actually got up, but it's not being used. Kirigiri's too busy preparing for the impending doom heading towards his base. But I think he wants to spare at least a few Zerglings to go harass that mineral mine at the net. Here we go, major clash, the Banelings hit, the Pariahs project in close to melee range. I think Kirigiri actually dropped a Nidus worm right in front of the Chiron to try to deflect the shots. That was a really cool idea. Unfortunately, there was just too much DPS for it to matter. Those larger ships are called Harbingers. They can attack air and ground. The smaller ones are called Auroras. They only hit ground, but that kind of works for Jevolution. The Lings are just getting fried before they can close. Kirigiri trying to get his Banelings up. The eggs are getting ignored for the moment. Oh, but no drone pull at the third. Those drones are just gonna get slaughtered. I think we're about to be treated to a massacre Keiron style. Oh, look at the cat dragon. It's a Paragon. The Keiron capital ship. Jevolution's just showing off now. Kirigiri's got nothing to deal with that. You make those from the zenith. Think of a Battlecruiser with shields. Oh, the resources lost tab is really telling us this game is over. But I always appreciate when players fight to the bitter end. Nobody ever has a magnificent comeback after they GG. But that's not what's on the menu here. Jevolution is screaming in units now. The bottom of the Zerg ramp is just a kill zone. The Zerg units are all dying in their own choke. That's a vastly superior concave for an army that's more than twice the size. Hatchery's gonna fall. It does. I think that's gonna be it. It is. Fun, a one-sided affair, but right now, everything about the Chiron is fun. So here's the thing. It's hard to jump to any conclusions about the Chiron from this video, as I think Jevolution was just on a higher tier of skill. But I think you're gonna see the Chiron kicking a lot of butt in the short term. One of the reasons for this is, as much as nobody knows just how to play the Chiron just yet, more important is, nobody knows how to play against them either. If you're Zerg, Terran, or Protoss, you have no idea which of your opponent's units are armored, which are biological, and what composition you should be making at any point in time. Your opponent, though, may have been playing against Zerg for as long as a decade. That's a huge advantage that the Chiron player has. When the Chiron player in a KVZ game hits that 7-minute mark, he knows what risks he's got to watch out for. He knows what the Zerg cheeses are. He knows how fast the Zerg is likely expanding. There's a wealth of information on how to play against the Zerg, but the playbook on how to beat the Chiron is a thing that we just don't have. My point is, before we conclude that anything actually needs to be changed with the Chiron and the balance and the coding involved in that, we need to give the human pilots a little time to catch up. There's just no real Chiron meta yet. Now, you didn't come here to hear a lecture about patience from a guy who doesn't have a lot of it himself. But I think I might know what you do want to see. Remember when StarCraft 2 first came out? All people wanted to watch was 10 Battlecruisers versus 10 carriers, and variations of that. 50 Ultras versus 1,000 Marines. Didn't matter how silly it was. I wanted to watch it, and so did a lot of people. So I think I have an exciting moment in StarCraft history. For the very first time, 10 Battlecruisers versus 10 Paragons. I'm not kidding. We're actually going to do this right now. Okay, so here we go. We got 10 Battlecruisers looking as boss as they always do. They are fully upgraded, +3/+3. They have the Yamato cannon, but they will not be using it in this fight. This is a pricey army. 400 minerals, 300 gas, 6 supply each. It's even more insane when you look at Team Keiron. Each Paragon costs 50 more minerals and 50 more gas. These bad boys are expensive. For perspective, each one of these guys costs about as much as a mothership. And each one has 50 more hit points than the Battlecruiser. They've been upgraded +3/+3, but just like the Protoss, they also have +3 shields. I'm a little bit afraid for the Terran, but remember, the Battlecruiser has the best armor in the game. They have an armor of 3 even before the upgrade. Oh, the Paragon has the equivalent of the Yamato gun too, but they're not allowed to use it either. This is straight up without micro. Don't blink because I bet this will be over faster than you think. Strange things going down on Beckett. Here we go. Oh, the Paragons in the back started firing before the DCs in the back started shooting. I think I overlooked the range advantage there. The Battlecruisers are falling apart. Team Terran collapsing like a house of cards. 2 Paragons are gone. Can they get a third? That just snowballed. Oh, and look at the disdain. The Paragons just move on like it was nothing. 6 of them don't even have shield damage. Okay, I'm officially terrified. That is a scary, scary unit. Now, one thing that does balance it out a bit is it takes a long time to generate the charge to make a Paragon. You're probably not going to see too many games where players have a bunch of them. So yeah, that was pretty artificial, but it's probably something you need to see at least once in your life. Anywho, thanks for joining me. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out. To continue your StarCraft journey, Nova advises you to click the video in the upper rectangle. But Kerrigan warns you to watch your 6 and click the video in the bottom rectangle. Or you can stimpack your StarCraft experience. Subscribe to Zugzwang StarCraft. Just hit the circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.